NNSA Administrator will be kicking us off. Thank you. And if I could please introduce our host for the day, the Undersecretary for Nuclear Security and the Administrator of NNSA, Ms. Lisa Gordon-Haggerty.
Thank you, Brooke. Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary, Secretary Lovegrove, Ambassador Darroch, Director General Kelly, honored friends and guests. Thank you all for being here with me today. I am Lisa Gordon-Haggerty, and I have the privilege to serve as the Department of Energy, Undersecretary of Energy for Nuclear Security, and the Administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration. I am very pleased and honored to host you here today at the Department of Energy and to serve as your Master of Ceremonies. Today we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the 1958 Mutual Defense Agreement between the United States and the United Kingdom. The MDA is a cornerstone in our nuclear deterrent, and it ensures the security of both of our nations. All of us who have worked across the Atlantic all of us who've worked across the Atlantic under the MDA can attest to its strategic value and to the bonds it has helped our nations forge. Time and again, the MDA has proven to be essential in our efforts to ensure our nuclear weapons capabilities and nuclear propulsion plants are safe, reliable, and effective. And through this agreement, we are able to support our nation's objectives in broader arms control, non-proliferation, and nuclear security. I am delighted to welcome several moderators and panelists who will lead us through an exploration of the MDA, its history, and its goals. We will hear from several former and current decision makers and subject matter experts from the Department of Energy and NNSA, the Department of Defense, the Ministry of Defense, the U.S. National Laboratories and Production Plants, and the UK Atomic Weapons Establishment. These discussions are essential to the understanding the challenges we must meet together, both today and in the future. We are very grateful for their participation and look forward to their insights. We will also have the opportunity to reflect upon how the MDA serves as an outstanding example of international cooperation and diplomacy. We are all greatly indebted to those who forged this agreement 60 years ago, as the free world faced a new struggle against a different kind of foe and a different set of threats. The MDA itself was an extension of a deep friendship between our two nations that found full expression during the two world wars. The alliance, forged on the battlefield, in the skies and on the seas, also existed in our laboratories. While our nations fought the Nazi regime in Europe and the Japanese Empire in the Pacific, our scientists worked together, side by side, on the Manhattan Project to develop an atomic weapon to secure a final and lasting peace. The MDA was created to ensure that we could build upon that shared effort so that in the twilight struggle of the Cold War, our nations could rely upon each other to assure for our common defense and the safety and security of the free world. The MDA served that purpose then, just as it does today. And as it happens, just as we mark the 60th year of the MDA, we also mark the 75th anniversary of the Los Alamos National Laboratory. Both anniversaries are a testament to the enduring strength of our partnership, because both the MDA and Los Alamos remain at the center of our nuclear alliance. Thanks to this alliance, our two great nations can collaborate and innovate together, confident in each other and proud of what we are able to achieve together as responsible nuclear powers. Further, since the beginning of the 21st century, the threat from nuclear proliferation worldwide has been increasing, and the U.S. and U.K. have partnered to strengthen the security of nuclear materials around the world. As part of a broad effort to prevent terrorists from acquiring nuclear materials to be used in an improvised nuclear device, the U.S. and U.K. are working together more closely than ever to track and interdict nuclear materials of concern around the world. This is a difficult but necessary work, and we have seen firsthand how critical it is. Some of you may recall that in 2006 there was a poisoning of a Russian national and former FSB agent, Alexander Litvinenko, with polonium-210 in London. In the immediate days after his poisoning, a major operation was conducted by UK authorities with extensive support from AWE to detect and analyze the origin of the polonium. Through the MDA, U.S. subject matter experts supported AWE closely in this operation, which successfully identified the source of the polonium and therefore helped assign responsibility to Litvinenko's death. Through our technical forensics exchanges, we continue to work to establish robust and operational procedures that both nations may call upon in future emergencies. Such close cooperation at the operational and technical level is at the heart of our MDA, and today we will explore what this vital agreement means for us in the years to come. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today so that we can set the foundation for the next 60 years of collaboration between our two great nations. It is now my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce our first keynote speaker, Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry.
Administrator, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be in front of this crowd to friends and distinguished colleagues and individuals. I get an absolute privilege to be able to work with the men and women in this room. I was just sitting there thinking, Lisa, I'm older than this agreement. I hope I'm as consequential as it can be someday. But it is on a 60th anniversary of a very important relationship with what I consider to be, if not our closest, one of our closest allies. I was drawn to a remarkable relationship with the citizens of the UK through my opportunity to live there as a boy, as an aviator in East Anglia in the early and mid 1970s, and I'd been regaled with great stories of that part of the country by my father, who was stationed just a bit farther east than myself at a little air station right outside of a village called Horham, where he was a B-17 tail gunner. Flew 35 missions in 1944 and early 45, and speaking of the Royal Air Force, as a matter of fact, you all have just had the 100th anniversary of the RAF. So cheerio, as you all say from time to time. And in fact, a number of members from DOE attended the commemoration right across the street from the National Air and Space Museum just a bit ago. So Anyway, today we're here to honor the MDA and all that flows from that. The MDA's motto is strength through partnership. And as Administrator Gordon Haggerty mentioned, these 60 years of partnership truly is a special thing. It's been said many times that the United States and the United Kingdom share a special relationship. Stephen, one of my favorite stories as governor, I went down to the consulate in Houston. It was on the 4th of July, and there was a little sign on the door of the consulate that said, "Due to circumstances beyond our control, this office will be closed today, 4th of July." So we have this special relationship, and we do. It's driven by this relationship, driven by this this message and purpose, if you will. Our partnership is very clear. All we have, all we are, everything we share, the same roots, the same values, whether it's our legal system, our history, the same belief in human dignity, the same love of freedom must be defended. Particularly in this time that we find ourselves in today. Freedom's being tested around the world. So by any measure, our partnership is as broad as it is enduring, and it includes every one of our core nuclear defense missions, sustainment and maintenance of the stockpile, research and development, the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program, nuclear threat reduction, non-proliferation. And this partnership is exactly what is needed as we confront the dangers of our day with this ominous return of superpower competition, continued threats by these rogue actors. Every aspect is critically important. That's why I'm pleased that in addition to its great breadth, our partnership rests on a clear-eyed realism about these dangers. The MDA stands on the time-honored truth that to avoid war, we must be prepared. It affirms that for as long as there is tyranny in the world, democracies must have the tools they need to deter that aggression. And so the MDA reaffirms our longtime doctrines about nuclear weapons. Those of you who are involved and have been involved in the formulating of the recently released United States Nuclear Posture Review can see these key beliefs embedded in that vital document without sacrificing the ultimate goal of eliminating nuclear weapons. The NPR supports our need for modern, flexible, resilient nuclear capabilities. Both the U.S. and the U.K. share the same approach through the MDA. Now, besides being broad and realistic, our MDA partnership is also inclusive. In 2008, in an exchange of letters with President George W. Bush, British Prime Minister Tony Blair underscored the UK intention that a future UK deterrent submarine equipped with Trident and any successor be assigned to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to defend the Atlantic Alliance in all circumstances. The letter shows how our two nations are committed not only to our own nuclear defense, but to that of all other NATO members as well. Indeed, we are the only two the only two NATO countries which contribute our own nuclear assets to the collective defense of the organization. But we don't just stop with NATO. The United Kingdom's continuous at-sea deterrent, CASD as it is called, contributes not just to NATO but to the democracy around the world. One of the UK Royal Navy's 4 strategic submarines is always on patrol, ensuring a continuous at-sea deterrence, 24/7, 365 days out of every year. And since April of 1969, the Royal Navy's ballistic missile boats have not missed a single day on patrol. And finally, in addition to being broad and realistic and inclusive, the MDA partnership is innovative. The Joint Technology Demonstrator, the JTD, is a great example. The JTD is developing and maturing advanced technologies that will be compatible with future U.S. and U.K. stockpile systems. This joint project enables each nation to leverage the other's expertise to modernize our future stockpiles, enhancing our defense and that of our allies. At the same time, the JTD cooperation is developing the next generation of subject matter experts who will design, build, and test a demonstrator for our future defense capabilities. And so, as our two nations look to the future, we do so with confidence. We stand firmly on the strength of our friendship, bound together in a fellowship of friendship and reliance. With World War II raging and crisis abounding, Winston Churchill summed up our friendship with these words: like the Mississippi, it just keeps rolling along. Let it roll to broader lands and better days. With God's help, may we bring better days to our world. At this time, I have the great privilege of being able to introduce a dear friend, an Oxford boy, Stephen Lovegrove. Stephen, yes, sir. How about it? You're a good goat. Thank you.